Elizabeth Hartley stood by the kitchen window, her hands trembling as she held the termination letter. The harsh winter light cast long shadows across the small, worn kitchen of her modest terraced house in the industrial town of Manchester. At 35, she had never imagined life could become so challenging. The factory where she had worked for 12 years had suddenly closed, leaving hundreds of workers like her without hope. Manufacturing jobs were disappearing, and Elizabeth knew the competition would be fierce. With two young children, Tom, aged 10, and Emma, aged 8, the weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders like an invisible burden. Her modest savings would barely cover the next 2 months of expenses. Rent was due, electricity bills were piling up, and the winter was cruel. The small kitchen, which had always been the heart of their home, now felt like a battleground of survival. Photographs of happier times, family picnics, birthday celebrations, watched silently from the walls, reminding her of the stability she was fighting to maintain. Tom noticed his mother's worried expression. "Is everything okay, Mom?" he asked, his innocent eyes filled with concern. Elizabeth forced a smile, not wanting to burden her children with adult worries. "Everything will be fine," she said, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. Emma, younger but perceptive, quietly walked over and hugged her mother. Children have an extraordinary ability to sense tension, and she knew something was wrong. Elizabeth held her daughter tight, drawing strength from her unconditional love. That evening, after putting the children to bed, Elizabeth spread out her limited resources on the kitchen table. Utility bills, school expense forms, grocery lists, each piece of paper represented a challenge. She had always been resourceful, but this time felt different. The factory closure wasn't just a job loss, it was a potential threat to everything she had built. She remembered her late husband, Richard, who had passed away 3 years ago. He would have known exactly what to do. Richard had always been practical, encouraging her to learn new skills and stay adaptable. His memory became her silent motivation. The next morning, Elizabeth woke up early. Instead of surrendering to despair, she decided to take control. She updated her old resume, which hadn't been touched in years. The local community center offered free computer classes, and she was determined to attend them. Her cousin Margaret, who worked in a local office, offered some initial advice. "The world is changing, Lizzie," she said. "You need to adapt. Learn computer skills, be open to different job opportunities." Elizabeth knew Margaret was right. The manufacturing jobs that had sustained her community for generations were disappearing. She needed to reinvent herself, not just for her sake, but for Tom and Emma's future. The community center became her sanctuary. While the children were at school, she would sit in their computer room, learning basic digital skills. The instructors were patient, understanding the challenges faced by workers displaced by technological changes. Her first online job application was nerve-wracking. Her hands shook as she filled out the digital forms, wondering if she was too old to start over. But the memory of her children's faces kept her going. She couldn't give up. Tom and Emma became her unexpected support system. They helped her practice typing, giggled at her initial computer mistakes, and celebrated small victories. Their innocence and love were her most powerful weapons against despair. As weeks passed, Elizabeth began to feel a subtle change. The fear that had gripped her started to transform into determination. She realized that losing her factory job wasn't the end of her story, it was potentially the beginning of a new chapter. Her community was full of similar stories, workers adapting, learning, surviving. She wasn't alone in this journey. The industrial town, which had seen countless economic challenges, was resilient. And Elizabeth was becoming part of that resilience. One evening, looking at her children's sleeping faces, she made a silent promise. She would fight. She would learn. She would provide. The road ahead was uncertain, but her spirit was unbreakable. Little did Elizabeth know that her journey of transformation was just beginning, and hope was waiting just around the corner. The community center buzzed with quiet energy as Elizabeth sat before an old computer, her fingers hovering uncertainly over the keyboard. Around her, a mix of people from different backgrounds attended evening classes, each seeking a chance to improve their lives.
Mr. Peterson, the volunteer instructor, noticed her hesitation. He was a retired IT professional with kind eyes and weathered hands that moved expertly across the keyboard. "Take your time," he said gently. "Everyone starts somewhere." Elizabeth's first attempts were clumsy. Typing felt like learning a foreign language.
Numbers and symbols jumbled together, making her frustration grow. But she remembered her promise to herself and her children: she would not give up. Each week, she attended classes religiously. Tom and Emma would help her practice at home, turning learning into a family adventure. Her daughter Emma would giggle when her mother accidentally pressed the wrong keys, while Tom patiently explained computer basics. One particular evening changed everything. Mr. Peterson introduced her to job search websites and helped her create a basic resume. "Your life experience matters," he told her. "Don't feel intimidated by technology." Her first online job application was for an administrative assistant position at a local business. The form seemed complicated, with multiple sections asking about skills she wasn't sure she possessed. But Mr. Peterson sat beside her, guiding her through each section. "Focus on your strengths," he advised. "You've managed a household, raised 2 children, and worked in a factory. Those are valuable skills." Elizabeth discovered she had more abilities than she realized. Her factory work had taught her precision. Managing a household required organizational skills. Raising children demanded patience and multitasking, qualities many employers valued. The local library became another learning space. While her children did homework, she would study computer tutorials and practice typing. The librarian, Mrs. Thompson, became an unexpected mentor, offering encouragement and occasional guidance. Weeks turned into months. Elizabeth's confidence grew. She learned to attach documents, write professional emails, and navigate job websites. Each small victory felt like climbing a mountain. Her cousin Margaret continued to support her. "You're doing brilliantly," she would say during their weekly phone calls. "Richard would be so proud of you." Mention of her late husband always brought a mix of emotions: sadness and determination. The children noticed the change in their mother. Tom started helping her with more complex computer tasks, his young mind absorbing technology effortlessly. Emma would draw pictures of her mother working on the computer, stick figures with big smiles. Financial pressures remained constant. Some nights, Elizabeth would stare at her limited savings, worry etched on her face. But she refused to let fear consume her. Every evening class, every new skill learned was a step towards a better future. Her persistence caught the attention of others at the community center. Some older participants, facing similar challenges, began seeking her advice. Elizabeth, who once felt lost, was now becoming a source of inspiration. The job market seemed intimidating. Rejection emails arrived regularly, each one a small blow to her confidence. But Mr. Peterson's words echoed in her mind: "Keep trying. Your opportunity will come." And then, unexpectedly, an interview invitation arrived. A local small business needed an administrative assistant. The requirements seemed challenging: computer skills, communication abilities, organizational expertise. Elizabeth prepared meticulously. She practiced interview questions with Tom and Emma, who offered adorable and sometimes hilarious advice. "Just smile and be yourself, Mom," Emma would say, hugging her tightly. The night before the interview, she hardly slept. Memories of her factory job, her late husband, and her children's hopeful faces swirled in her mind. This was more than just a job opportunity, it was a chance to rebuild their lives. As dawn broke, Elizabeth looked at her reflection. The woman staring back was different, stronger, more confident. Whatever the interview's outcome, she had already achieved something remarkable. She had rediscovered her own strength. Her journey was proving that with determination, support, and continuous learning, second chances were always possible. The morning of the interview arrived with a crisp autumn breeze. Elizabeth woke early, her hands slightly shaking as she prepared her best outfit, a navy blue blazer she had carefully saved for such an occasion. Tom helped her iron the jacket, his small hands moving carefully across the fabric. "You'll do great, Mom," he said, his confidence infectious.
Emma added a small good luck charm, a pin her father had once worn, to Elizabeth's lapel. The local business, Thompson & Sons Administrative Services, was a small company nestled in the heart of Manchester. Elizabeth had researched the company extensively, learning every detail she could about their operations. As she entered the modest office building, her heart raced. The receptionist, a young woman with kind eyes, smiled warmly. "Mrs. Hartley?" she asked. Elizabeth nodded, trying to steady her breathing.
Mr. Robert Thompson, the company owner, was different from what she expected. Instead of an intimidating businessman, he was a middle-aged man with gentle eyes and a welcoming smile. He looked through her resume, his fingers tracing the carefully prepared document. "Tell me about yourself," he said, his voice encouraging.
Elizabeth took a deep breath.
She spoke about her factory experience, her computer classes, her determination to provide for her children.
She didn't hide her challenges, instead, she presented them as strengths. Mr. Thompson listened intently.
He wasn't just hearing her words, he was understanding her story. Elizabeth spoke about the community center, about Mr. Peterson's guidance, about her children's support. Her passion became evident with each word. The interview felt more like a conversation. Mr. Thompson asked about her ability to multitask, her organizational skills, her adaptability. Elizabeth shared real-life examples, managing a household, supporting her children, learning new skills at her age. "Most people would have given up," Mr. Thompson said, looking impressed.
"But you've kept learning, kept pushing forward." Outside, autumn leaves danced in the wind. Manchester's industrial landscape seemed to hold its breath, waiting.
Elizabeth felt a strange mix of hope and nervousness. The final moments of the interview were crucial. Mr. Thompson asked about her availability, her willingness to learn, her commitment.
Elizabeth's response was immediate and genuine.
"I'm ready for any opportunity," she said firmly.
Days passed. Elizabeth tried to maintain hope but prepared herself for potential disappointment.
She continued her computer classes, continued supporting her children, continued believing in herself. Then the phone call came.
A Friday afternoon, just as she was preparing dinner.
Mr. Thompson's voice was warm.
"We'd like to offer you the position," he said.
The world seemed to stop.
Elizabeth's hands trembled. The job wasn't high-paying, but it was a beginning.
A chance to rebuild.
A path forward. Tom and Emma danced around the kitchen when she shared the news.
"We're proud of you, Mom," they shouted in unison.
Their excitement was pure, unbridled joy. Her first paycheck was more than money.
It was validation.
Proof that hard work, determination, and continuous learning could change everything.
The modest amount represented hope, dignity, and a future. The community center celebrated with her. Mr. Peterson's eyes sparkled with pride. "I always knew you could do it," he said, giving her a supportive hug.
Elizabeth's journey wasn't just about finding a job.
It was about rediscovering her own strength.
About showing her children that challenges could be overcome.
That age was not a barrier, but an advantage. Her cousin Margaret arrived with a small celebration cake. "Richard would have been so proud," she whispered, tears in her eyes.
As night fell, Elizabeth looked at her sleeping children.
The small pin her husband had once worn gleamed in the moonlight.
She had done it.
Not just for herself, but for them. The turning point wasn't just getting a job. It was believing in herself again. The first months at Thompson & Sons Administrative Services were a whirlwind of learning and growth. Elizabeth arrived early each morning, her carefully packed lunch next to her organized desk. Mr. Thompson watched her with quiet appreciation, noticing how quickly she adapted to the office environment. Her computer skills, once a source of anxiety, now became her strength.
She learned spreadsheet management, email communication, and basic accounting tasks.
Each small victory boosted her confidence. Her colleagues, initially skeptical of a newcomer her age, began to respect her dedication. At home, Elizabeth created a new routine. Mornings were for preparation, evenings for family time and continued learning. Tom and Emma became her support system, helping her practice new skills and celebrating her achievements.
Weekends transformed into learning opportunities. While other families went shopping or watched television, the Hartley household turned their living room into a mini training center. Tom would help his mother practice typing, Emma would create colorful charts tracking her progress. The extra income changed everything. No longer did Elizabeth worry about basic necessities. She started a small savings account, teaching her children the importance of financial planning. Every pound matters, she would tell them, showing how careful management could build security. Her involvement in the community grew. At the community center, she began helping other unemployed workers, sharing her experience and offering practical advice. Mr. Peterson beamed with pride, seeing how far she had come. The local support group for single parents became another avenue of connection. Elizabeth shared her story, not as a tale of struggle, but as a journey of hope. Women facing similar challenges found inspiration in her resilience. Mr. Thompson noticed her potential and offered additional training opportunities. "You're becoming an invaluable part of our team," he told her during a performance review. Elizabeth realized she was no longer just surviving, she was thriving. Her children noticed the change. Tom became more responsible, helping more around the house. Emma's confidence grew, inspired by her mother's transformation. They understood that challenges could be overcome with determination. Financial stability brought unexpected joys. Small treats became possible: a weekend trip, new books, occasional meals out. These weren't luxuries, but symbols of their family's renewed hope. Elizabeth began mentoring younger employees at work. Her life experience became a valuable asset. She understood problem-solving, communication, and resilience in ways younger colleagues were still learning. The community started recognizing her journey. Local newspapers featured a small article about her transformation from factory worker to administrative professional. The story inspired many, showing that age and circumstance were not barriers to success. Her relationship with her late husband's memory evolved. Rather than a source of pain, Richard's memory became a motivation. She could almost hear his encouragement in challenging moments. The support group became a platform for change. Elizabeth helped organize workshops for single parents, sharing practical skills about job hunting, financial management, and personal development. Her own journey became a beacon of hope for others. Technology, once a challenge, became her ally. She learned online banking, digital communication, and basic graphic design. Her children watched in amazement as their mother transformed into a confident professional. Summers brought family camping trips, something impossible during their most challenging times. Tom and Emma would sit around campfires, sharing stories, enjoying the newfound stability. These moments were precious, proof of their family's resilience. Mr. Thompson recognized her potential, offering her opportunities for professional development. Additional training, potential promotions, doors that seemed closed were now opening. Elizabeth's story spread through the community. She wasn't just a success story, she was a testament to the power of determination, continuous learning, and unwavering hope. As winter approached, the Hartley household looked different. Warmth, hope, and possibility filled their modest home. Elizabeth looked at her children, seeing not just their current happiness, but the bright future they were building together. Her journey proved one fundamental truth: with courage, support, and continuous learning, anyone could rebuild their life. The 2 years had passed since Elizabeth's unexpected journey began. Her small office at Thompson & Sons now bore witness to her remarkable transformation. Photographs of Tom and Emma decorated her workspace, a constant reminder of why she fought so hard. Mr. Thompson recognized her exceptional skills and promoted her to senior administrative manager. It was a position she never imagined possible just 2 years earlier. Her monthly reports were precise, her communication skills sharp, and her understanding of the business deep. The community center where she had first learned computer skills now became her platform for helping others. Every Saturday, Elizabeth ran workshops for unemployed workers, single parents, and individuals struggling to find their professional path. Her personal story became a powerful tool of inspiration. Tom, now 12, had become increasingly responsible. Inspired by his mother's journey, he started helping younger students with computer skills at his school. Emma, approaching 10, developed a passion for learning and helping others, often accompanying her mother to community workshops. Elizabeth's support group for single parents grew from a small gathering to a significant community resource. They shared job hunting strategies, financial planning tips, and emotional support. Her cousin Margaret often helped organize these sessions, proud of Elizabeth's newfound purpose. The local council took notice of her work. They invited her to speak at career development conferences, sharing her story of resilience and transformation. Elizabeth spoke honestly about her challenges, her fears, and ultimately, her triumph. Her financial stability allowed small but meaningful changes. She started a college fund for Tom and Emma, ensuring their future opportunities would be broader than her own. Weekend trips, better clothes, and occasional treats became possible not as luxuries, but as markers of their family's growth. Mr. Peterson, the volunteer instructor who first helped her with computers, remained a close mentor. He would often visit the community center workshops, watching with pride as Elizabeth guided others through their own transformative journeys. The story of the single mother who rebuilt her life became local folklore. Newspapers featured her journey, local radio stations invited her for interviews. But Elizabeth remained humble, always emphasizing the importance of community support and continuous learning. Her relationship with technology continued to evolve. She learned advanced computer skills, digital marketing basics, and even started a small blog sharing professional development advice. Tom and Emma became her tech support, giggling as they helped their mother navigate new software. The workplace dynamics at Thompson & Sons changed with her influence. Mr. Thompson implemented more inclusive hiring practices, inspired by Elizabeth's journey. The company became known for giving opportunities to individuals often overlooked in traditional recruitment processes. Elizabeth's workshops attracted people from diverse backgrounds. Factory workers, stay-at-home parents, individuals facing career transitions all found hope in her story. She didn't just teach skills, she restored confidence. As years passed, Tom and Emma grew more aware of their mother's remarkable journey. Family discussions often centered around resilience, adaptability, and the power of continuous learning. Elizabeth ensured they understood that challenges were opportunities in disguise. Her late husband Richard's memory remained a source of strength. The small pin he once wore now sat in a special frame, a reminder of the love and support that had always guided her. She often told her children stories about their father, keeping his memory alive. The community began to see Elizabeth as more than just a success story. She was a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of determination and community support. Local schools invited her to speak, inspiring young students to believe in themselves. Her modest home, once a place of uncertainty, now radiated warmth and possibility. Photographs chronicled their journey, from struggle to stability, from survival to success. Each image told a story of resilience. As another year approached, Elizabeth reflected on her journey. The scared, uncertain woman who had lost her factory job seemed like a distant memory. She had not just survived, she had thrived. Tom and Emma watched their mother with admiration. They understood that success wasn't about perfection, but about persistence. About believing in oneself, even when the world seemed challenging. Elizabeth's story was a promise that with courage, support, and continuous learning, anyone could rewrite their future. The end.